Do we believe in the starting rotation?
Oh, boy, this is a tough one because you do have to look at this and say Carlos Rodon is not part of it anymore, which I never thought that I would sit here and be muttering, Johnny. Like, honestly, I never thought that, a couple of years back, I'd say maybe when he was first drafted, it was something that I expected him to be a top of the rotation guy, but there was a fair amount of time where Carlos Rodon was your perennial, is this guy going to be healthy heading into camp? And last year, he goes out and he performs to the level of Carlos Rodon that you expected when you drafted him. And on that 1-year deal, he went out and he earned himself a nice payday. And Johnny, the Sox rotation is going to miss Carlos Rodon. I am not going to sit here and say that we will not miss a pitcher's performance of last year that Carlos Rodon gave us. I think we absolutely will. And most teams in the league are always looking for a guy that can come and do that for the top end of their rotation. The big questions for me in this year's specific starting rotation are two things. One, what version of Lance Lynn do you get? And can he do exactly what he did for you last year and still continue to be that guy, that driving force for the rotation? And two, is Dylan Cease going to take that next step and hit that next gear to be that guy who does what Carlos Rodon did for you last year?
Sean likes to call him the X Factor, and I think Sean's spot on with that. I don't think it's a novel take by any means, but it's a very impactful one because it's not unique. I think everybody knows that, and everyone knows the stuff is there, and we've said that for so long. But it's how long did Dylan Cease get in his own way? And then now we saw the other day, can he pitch over fielders' mistakes? I mean, hell, your best defensive outfielder, Luis Robert, just dropped a routine pop-up, but luckily Dylan Cease is able to work through it, so that's a good sign. Granted, spring training game here, but still, that kind of stuff is really what's going to make or break at the end of the day, I legitimately believe. And to answer your question about Lance Lynn, I think we can kind of expect about the same. I think Giolito could go into overdrive mode, but even if you just get what you got last year, you're still pretty solid there at the top with 1-2. And this one might be a novel take. I think Dallas Keuchel is going to bounce back a little bit here. That was some sort of funk that he was in. He's not going to be great by any means. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going and saying that Dallas Keuchel is going to be a staple. Fuck, he might get left off the playoff roster again. Who knows how that shakes down with injuries when it comes down to the end of the year. But I saw a few starts earlier in the season against good teams in June, and it's everybody forgets about that because the end of the year was so abysmal, and I get it. When it counts, you're focusing on that. It's what have you done for me lately business. But I don't think the last half of last year is all that Dallas Keuchel is. And guess what? Even if you want to get rid of him, we're stuck with the contract. So he's going to have to really play himself out of that to get DFA'd. So,
yes, and Dallas Keuchel needs to bounce back, not just for the White Sox, but for himself a little bit here. And I think that he's got to be the one guy on the roster right now that draws the most critical eye, Johnny, wouldn't you say? It's going to be hard for Dallas Keuchel, I think, to reestablish that relationship with the fan base where there's going to be any sort of trust in him. And I kind of
rightfully so. Last year was abysmal. Yeah. Like I said, the finish to last year was abysmal. So I don't doubt. And if you want to, rip me for saying that he would bounce back, then sure, I agree. You do got to see it, but I just don't think that's the total makeup of what he is.
If you get better from Dallas Keuchel this year, this rotation is going to be in a little bit better of a spot. I mean, if you follow you're only as good as your weakest link through that rotation, if you could get a little step up from Dallas Keuchel and Michael Kopech comes in, and I know he's going to be on an innings limit and a strict pitch count limit, but if he's got the elite stuff that you saw at Flashes last year, Michael Kopech's a gamer, and he's going to go out there and just kind of – I hope he follows the momentum and the energy that you get out of guys like Lance Lynn and spending a little bit more time with that starting rotation. Who knows? Who knows what you get from Michael Kopech there? He might step in and be close to Dylan Cease level of last year, and this may look better than last year. We don't know. we're not in May yet. So
right. Yeah.
There's room to be optimistic.
There's questions here. Now I'll just interject a little bit. It's paraphrasing, but I saw a quote about Kopech preferring the, starting rotation role over a bullpen role, being able to flesh out his stuff better. And he's it's a more complete look of what, he can bring to the table as far as pitch arsenal. And another comment from Jordan Miller here. Hope Kopech has his third pitch back. His changeup is nasty. He will need that if he's going to be a starting pitcher. Guys are going to be seeing more. He's not just throwing 1, 2, every maybe 2, 3 occasions. He threw 3 innings more that weren't starts. I mean, coming out of the bullpen last year. So yeah, a lot of question marks here. So do we believe in the rotation? For viewers, listeners that did not tune in for the first part when we were talking about why we're feeling uneasy, I'd said I believe in it from April till August. And I'm going to kind of still stand pat there because injuries can always happen. They're going to happen. Guess what? People in the starting rotation are going to get injured. And another thing, too, I just want to bring up why do I not believe here? The White Sox were fully healthy in the starting rotation through the All-Star break last year. People forget that, Tony.
That is
fully healthy. The only IL stint to any starter in the first half of the season was a Dylan Cease false positive COVID test, and he still made his next scheduled start. So are you going to get that same health again? I don't know if we're going to be that lucky.
I don't know if we're going to be that lucky in the starting rotation. And you got to wonder, who's that next man up? Is it Reynaldo Lopez? Who's going to jump in here and be that guy? Because you're going to need someone along the way to come win you a couple of ball games. And
dude, you bring up a good point there. I just need to interject real quick because understandably so, you look at the new names coming in, Vince Velasquez, you're like, that doesn't wow anybody. But kind of forgot about Reynaldo Lopez until you brought him up there. And it's like, that's not a bad option to step in, especially based on what he was able to do last year. So I like that, Tony. That gives me a little more confidence, actually. Didn't think I'd be saying that after the 2019 kind of shit that went down, but
I still remember a few Reynaldo Lopez starts where you just thought to yourself, man, if this guy could do this just a little more often, he could be dangerous. And I think, it's the second time through the order thing for Reynaldo Lopez, but he's got that ability to come in there and kind of string together a few starts for you. So if you do have some struggles with Dallas Keuchel, if you do have some struggles with Michael Kopech and you need to grab a spot start from someone, you got a guy who's got some experience at the major league level doing it that's had some success behind him. I think he's going to play a more integral role in this starting rotation this year just for some odd feeling.
Well, he's going to have to step in for guys when they, Kopech's going to be on the innings limit. So maybe you're skipping a start every once in a while with him. And then obviously injuries too, always a factor. So yeah, be interesting to see. But I guess the consensus here, I don't know, we can't answer it yet. A lot of question marks, but it's, do we believe in the rotation? Starting rotation was the kind of question here. We'll piggyback that into tonight's game. They're about to get going out in Goodyear, Arizona, against the Cincinnati Reds. Kopech making his first start of the spring, going 2 tonight. I know it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, only going 2 here, but again, got to remember where this guy is with his arm here.
Yeah, and Johnny, I think if I'm going to answer the question, I would say yes, I believe in this rotation this year. I think, looking from an outside perspective, if you take yourself away from the closeness of the White Sox and you go look at some of the other starting rotations across the league, I would say that the White Sox are fairly in a decent spot amongst everyone else.
They're going to make the top graphic of Fox Sports' rankings, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think overall, yeah, I believe in this rotation going into this year. Do I want to see them, every time through the rotation throw 8 innings of 4-hit baseball or under? Yes. Is that realistic? Probably not. But I believe in this rotation, and it's going to have its hot stretches. That's going to carry some win streaks through the year, Johnny. And I think that's ultimately what you want out of your starting rotation.